Hello there and welcome back to Grass Me Up, the premier lawn care and sports turf podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Russell Sharp, the founder of Utrema Limited, a company that makes premium fertilizers, bespoke biostimulants and organic biopesticides. This episode I recorded for my other podcast, Hydroponics Daily, all about ways people have looked at growing sports turf and fine turf hydroponically, both in a lab, commercially to supply turf, and also actually on sports fields, actually using hydroponics, so soilless cultivation. And the crazy thing is, it's actually the main aim is to reduce water use, even though it involves the use of a lot of water. So have a listen and let me know what you think. Can you grow lawn grass or sports turf hydroponically? This might sound stupid, and the obvious answer might be no. When you think of a traditional NFT, DWC hydroponic system, the last thing you would think about is sports turf. But it is potentially possible. And there are a couple of companies that are looking at it. And let's look at first like the definition of the idea of grass without soil. So when we say lawn grass, we're usually referring to turf grasses like perennial ryegrass, and in America, Kentucky bluegrass, Bermuda grass, and fescues in the UK. And they form dense mats in residential lawns, golf courses, athletics fields, football pitches. And growing them hydroponically means cultivating them without soil in a medium setup where nutrients are delivered through water. So is this possible? Well, technically, yes. And technically, a lot of sports pitches would already be classed as hydroponically, really. They're soilless. Most of the premium grade sports football pitches, soccer pitches in the UK are based on sand and have plastic membranes around them. They're called like hybrid systems. There's a lot of plastic in there as well. So they're pure sand. There's no soil. It's all artificial medium. And it's basically a run to waste hydroponic system. And a lot of them get fined by the Environment Agency because of the amount of fertilizer that's leached into the waterways. So technically, yes, it's possible, but could we have a recirculatory system where the nutrients in the water are recycled? And that way it could actually be good for the environment because you wouldn't lose any nutrients and you could save a lot of water. We know hydroponics, when they're recirculatory, save a vast amount of water. And it's been done. Hydroponic turf trials have been done with lawn grasses. At the moment, it's fairly niche and a lot of it is research-based, but practically it's possible. I've done it myself in the greenhouses here. We've got a big customer in sports turf products that we manufacture, and we did a hydroponic system to exclude one nutrient from each system. That was so that we could visualize the symptoms of deficiency of each nutrient when in the real world. So we could actually, if you were doing that in soil, you couldn't exclude one nutrient, whereas hydroponically we could. And there's two reasons you might want to commercialize hydroponics in sports turf and lawn turf. The first is for rapid growth of what we call sod, those rolls of turf. You could rapidly grow them in a organic or a clay sand-based medium rather than directly in the soil. And you could grow them under LED lights with a fertigation solution and get them really fast growing and then potentially establish a lot better once they actually get in the ground. So that's one particular good reason for them. And then the other is a hydroponic system when actually the whole lawn continues to be hydroponics and this hydroponic system is set up and it recirculates. So you could have a golf course or a football pitch that is completely hydroponic and recirculatory. And that sounds like a lot of effort, and it is a lot of effort. But in situations where water is at a premium and nutrient pollution is a major issue, and you still need event grade turf, then this could be a particularly good solution. So there is a company called Capillary Hydroponics that are looking into this and claim to have got a lot of systems already set up. And so sort of capillary hydroponics. So check them out. It's a closed loop system and potentially it's of use. I'm not sure in the UK with the amount of rainfall we have that you would get, it would be value for money. But potentially if you've got the money for establishing it and setting up all the systems, the tanks required would be massive and the there would be a lot of piping over a massive area, especially in golf courses. But maybe if you had a particular hole, a particular green, golf green that was proving particularly problematic, then it could be a good one to look at. But it would need a lot of earthwork movement to do that. LED grow lights have been used now in sports turf for a long time, and so that side of things wouldn't be an issue. They're big arrays that go onto football pitches and golf courses to boost growth when they need it, especially in shaded areas. A football stadium, soccer stadium is very shaded. You think about Wimbledon, that's even more shaded. That's such a closed environment that LEDs were almost essential for getting the grass growth this time of year, just before they start playing on it for qualifiers ahead of the main tournament. So LED grow lights would be essential. And tennis, hard-wearing hydroponic tennis, grass tennis, could increase the amount of venues that could hold a grass court event around the world and around certain times of the year as well. I just think tennis looks better on grass as a spectacle compared to what do they call it, hard court clay system and clays. Just looks better on grass. So if we could have some winter grass tournaments, wouldn't that be amazing? So that's Hydroponics Daily for today. And also, remember, silicon is really good in grass. We talked about that on yesterday's episode, and you could choose your particular silicon you wanted to use. And the reason I've talked about sports turf today is that we've just set up another podcast that'll be running on weekdays, and that's called Grass Me Up, and that's going to be all about lawn and sports turf science and using that science in practical every day. If you've got a lawn, if you're into sports turf, what I'll do is I'll add the link into the show description. And so, yeah, check out Grass Me Up on Apple. I'll probably actually add the MP3 to the end of this one so that you can have a listen to the introductory episode. So stay tuned after that. As a bonus as well, it's not just sports grass that's been looked at hydroponically. Recently, there's a dairy farmer in Holland, and he's looking at growing grass hydroponically to feed to cows so that the land can be better used for other uses in Holland. It's debatable whether you could be efficient enough. I mean, grassland for animals is fairly cheap compared to arable land, and the grass grows fairly well, so it'd be debatable, but he seems to think that it could be potential. And animal feed has been grown hydroponically for a long time, especially like sprouted barley, sprouted wheat. That's been a particular strong additive in animal feed for a long time in certain countries. So it's not beyond the wit of man to produce hydroponic animal feed grass, so grasslands, artificial grasslands. So yeah, that's been Hydroponics Daily for today. As I say, stay tuned and I'll just bump on the introductory episode of Grass Me Up next. Thank you. Hello there. Welcome to Grass Me Up, the premier podcast for lawn and sports turf science, agronomy, and everything that grows under your feet and keeps our fields, pitches and gardens looking pristine, aka grass. I'm your host, Dr. Russell Sharp from Utrema. And whether you're a turf manager, sports groundskeeper, lawn enthusiast, or just someone who's genuinely fascinated by soil microbes, mowers, sprayers, lovely grass, you're in the right place. So this podcast isn't just grass deep. We're going root deep. We're going fungal network deep, because behind every lush green pitch or pristine striped lawn is a world of biology, chemistry, and physics. And let's face it, a bit of madness. You've got to be mad to be in the lawn and turf game. In this introductory episode, I want to give you a taste of what's coming up and why you may never look at your lawn or football pitch the same way again. I'm hoping to do an episode every weekday. We've got about 200 topics, so I should be able to get through a calendar year at least with that. That's a lot more often than most podcasts, but I do another podcast called Hydroponics Daily for the hydroponics industry, and that has gone well so far this year. So I thought we've got lots of customers in the lawn care and sports turf industry at Utrema, so I thought I'd continue our efforts with another podcast dedicated to you guys. So we'll tackle topics that range from the practical to the scientific, from the obscure to the essential. Ever wondered why your lawn turns yellow in drought or whether seaweed extracts actually do anything? Well, we'll break it down for you. Are you curious about what chafer grubs and leopard jackets are doing to your turf? We'll talk biological control, nematodes, and prevention strategies that don't wreck your ecosystem. We'll explore how sports turf professionals in the Premier League construct pitches that survive 40 games and still look flawless. What makes USGA green construction so resilient, and how to actually deal with moss, poa annua, fairy rings, and even slime mould. Have you ever had a slime mould on your lawn? It's pretty disgusting. Luckily, it doesn't harm the grass too much. Okay, so we'll also be busting and debunking lawn care myths, explaining whether no mow may actually helps biodiversity, and asking the big questions in lawn care, like how do we even make lawns before mechanical mowers? How did they even do lawns before they had mowers? Is plastic glass really a sustainable solution? And what happens when geese, badgers, rabbits, and even moles decide your turf is now theirs? So we'll cover topics like wetting agents, phosphites, micronutrients, compost teas, and chitosan, all those products you've seen for sale on social media and on websites and trade shows. We'll discuss the safety and science of glyphosate or Roundup, what titanium and cobalt fertilizers really do, and whether blue pigments during droughts are just for show or serve a purpose. Not sure what kind of grass you should be using? Fescue, bromes, poa? We'll compare. I'm wondering if your soil is too acidic or too alkaline. We'll dive into soil testing 101, structure, texture, and what organic matter really means in a practical sense. So our goal is simple: make turf and lawn science accessible, grounded in agronomy, and genuinely useful. Whether you're maintaining a cricket square, planning your first lawn renovation, or wondering if that dandelion is about to take over your entire life. This podcast is not sponsored fluff. It's not about what to buy. Yes, I work for a company that makes inputs, but we'll keep it as independent as possible. If you listen to any other podcasts, you'll hear me say that don't use some of our products in certain situations and use other people's products when they're more appropriate. It's about how to think like a turf scientist, really. So an academic turf scientist. Whether you're using drones, drag mats, or just a spade and a dream, we're here for you. I'll have guests along the way. I'll have co-hosts. I won't be using Skype or any of the sort of interview techniques that involve the internet, because I find that the sound quality is terrible. And I want the sound to be as good as possible, because I know a lot of people listen to podcasts in noisy vehicles like tractors. And I don't want to burst your eardrums trying to listen to the audio if it's coming across something like Skype. So please subscribe, follow, or just bookmark this in your brain, because Grass Me Up is about to become your go-to source for everything that matters under your feet. So also, please share this with any of your other grass heads, grass nerds, turf heads. That's probably a good one, isn't it? Yeah. And I know there are a lot of other turf-based podcasts out there, so hopefully we'll have a different take on them. And certainly we will be publishing a lot more often than most podcasts. So I'm a podcast addict, so hopefully you are too. So you'll be getting at least 5 a week. That's the plan. So we're diving into, next week, we'll probably dive into one of the simplest and most overlooked ways to transform your turf's appearance. Greening up with iron and foliar products. What works, what doesn't, and why colour isn't just cosmetic. So thanks for tuning in to Grass Me Up. As I said, I'm Dr. Russell Sharp from Utrema, and I'll see you on the turf. Thank you very much. Goodbye.